What's up, everybody? Welcome to Podcast Now. I'm Alex, and in this video, I want to go over some general tips and tricks for how to play as the family in the Texas Chainsaw Massacre. Tomorrow, I'll be doing the victims, so I will cover both sides. And what I'm going to try to do is keep it pretty general. I know everybody functions slightly different, and we will go into that a little bit in these videos, but these are just things that generally you should be doing as the family to ensure that you get the victims. Okay, so let's start with some of the ones that you can do with pretty much any of the characters, and then we can go a little bit more specific. Communication is pretty important. Now, I have found that in my time playing it recently and having some success with the family, actually quite a bit of success, I don't think communication is absolutely necessary. I think you need to know what the other family members are up to, and this is as simple as pressing up right on the D-pad, no matter what you're playing it on. Pressing up, having that ability, it cools down rather quickly, so you can constantly be using it. You always kind of want to see what's going on with the family. Oftentimes they might be chasing somebody, so even if you're not talking to them, which I suggest you do, but again, if you're maybe antisocial, trust me, I get it, because I am too. If you don't want to talk to people, doing that button, looking around, seeing what the family is up to is a good way of figuring out if they're close to people, or if they've maybe checked a generator or something. Maybe locating Grandpa. Sometimes Grandpa will be in pretty weird spots in maps, and maybe you're not used to him being there. Pressing up lets you see him. So that's definitely one thing to do. Second thing that is still general without getting too specific is to play your roles. Now, we'll go into that in a second, but you need to play to the character's strengths. So faster characters that are able to kind of move along with the victims, they need to be doing that. They need to be checking generators. They need to be checking the car batteries. Characters like Leatherface, they need to be the ones that are more aggressive. And I guess one final thing that kind of encompasses everybody is blood. For the love of God, get blood and feed Grandpa. The matches that I did the worst with, actually two things have happened. One, we all pick kind of slow characters. I do think that's not a good thing to do. Second thing, though, is there was a lack of blood collection and blood drop-offs to Grandpa. I think there's a sweet spot there, because obviously hitting victims will give you blood. So if you are aggressive, if you are damaging them, right, if you're hurting them kind of early on, if you're targeting them early on, you can get blood that way. But if you're not doing that, and for the early parts of the match, it's only Leatherface that's even close to them. So I would say it's up to the other two to start getting as much blood as humanly possible. That way you can get Grandpa leveled up. Remember, level 5 Grandpa reveals them no matter what. So you obviously want to get him there. It's not necessary. In fact, I think I only got him up there maybe 2 times in my 20, 30 plus matches I played, but he's unstoppable, right? You can see everybody very, very easily when you do that. So getting blood is super, super important. When it comes to the family loadout before you jump into the match, here's one tip I will say. I generally find the best success when you have potentially one slow family member, and there's only two. There's Johnny and there's the cook. In my opinion, I'd only ever have one of those two. In matches where we've had both of them, we've lost. Now, that's probably more on me than it is necessarily the game, but I find that having at least one family member that can kind of go toe-to-toe in following the victims is the best way to do it. So what that means is, for me, I would go into a match, you have to have Leatherface, I'd at least have one of Sissy or the Hitchhiker. There's been plenty of matches that we've won where we've had both Sissy and the Hitchhiker, but I would say at least have one of them. They're special kind of abilities, the idea of poisoning and the idea of trapping. I do kind of lean the trapping with the Hitchhiker, as you can kind of, again, place traps around the area. You can put it at key spots like the generator, things like that. You can do that. I think that kind of wins over poison, but Sissy is really good. I would say at least have one. If you have both the slow ones, again, I just really don't think they're capable, because really Leatherface is slow too. So all three of you are kind of slow. It's a lot easier for the victims to just generally run away from you. And yes, they kind of offset a little bit. The cook, obviously, with the padlocks is extremely powerful. But if you have somebody hell-bent on playing Johnny and then you want to play as the cook, generally, I think that's kind of a bad idea. Okay, so when we talk about the actual killers themselves, I'm going to do just a general little brush over each of them. Leatherface, Powerful, very, very big and powerful, right? Obviously, his main weakness is moving around. He gets locked in the basement with them to start. The number one thing I say with Leatherface is disruption. You want to disrupt them as much as possible. And that literally means like distracting them. Run into them, get them scared, get them running away from you. If they're running away from you, they're not doing their objectives. I find keeping him in the basement as long as humanly possible is the best path to victory, right? Because you can have the other killers be getting blood, so you can have Grandpa being pretty highly raised by the time the victims get out. Maybe Leatherface can take one of them out before they get out, so there's only 3 of them, say, that make it to the surface level. Those are some of the things you want to do. Now, in terms of actually hunting them, you really got to use your eyes. I mean, that's kind of obvious. And you really have to use the camera. For me, I like to spin the camera as much as humanly possible. I like to check kind of corners. You eventually get it where victims try to hide out. This is for anybody, right? It can be in grass. It can be in the basement, in small little pockets of it. There's obviously spots you would think that a victim would try to hide out. You obviously have to kind of be in the area of them. But another thing you can do, and this is a lot more tough, but I actually really applaud the game for doing this, your hearing, like literally you as an individual putting on the headphones or listening to the TV or whatever, you can hear them. So one time a girl went into a fridge kind of thing, or the deep freezer, and I could actually hear her do it very faintly. I said, is somebody in there? And I walked and I opened it and she was in there. It doesn't happen all that often, but you can hear them if you're like really, really looking out for them. And of course, if you're close to them. But you generally want to be spinning the camera around. You generally want to be checking if you can get to higher up areas and kind of scan. I scan a lot. Like I'll sometimes just stand there and stare for a bit just to make sure, even if they're not there, well, then you know they're not there, right? So you can go check somewhere else. But maybe you see something move. Maybe you actually see one of them like crouched in like, you know, the grass or whatever. You could see these things. But back to the killers, beyond Leatherface, the other 4, here's what you do. If you're not Leatherface, you need to be getting blood, as I said earlier. That's a huge part of it. However, there are a couple things, actually really only one, that you should do before that, and it's securing the exits. So the game actually made a change from the tech test to the actual launch. In the tech test, you had to turn on the car battery as well as the generator. Those power the 2 doors, generally at the opposite ends of the map. And those are the 2 that generally the victims will escape through the most. They don't really go for the water valve, and they don't really go for the fuse. I'm sure they will eventually, but right now they really don't. Right now, though, in the base game, the generator is already turned on. So if you're playing as any of the other 4 killers, you need to turn on the car battery. So many times will I see that not happening. And sometimes as Leatherface, I'll have to do it. It's not Leatherface's job. Leatherface literally is that predator that's just supposed to be out there hunting. Everybody else should be, again, getting blood, at least to start, getting blood and securing those outer areas. Now, if you're the cook, you can padlock something. So I would suggest padlocking like the gate that gets there, or if you're in the family house, padlocking some of the main exit doors. Keeping the victims in as small of a bubble as you can is the biggest tip, I'd say, as the family. It depends on the map for sure, but generally, if you can keep them secured, so if that's the slaughterhouse, securing that gate, right? If you're in the family house, securing the 2 doors so they cannot leave the actual house. Now, they can, but it'll take them longer, right? So every map has this. You want to try to box them in as much as possible. Now, the cook is very powerful with this, right? Because, again, padlocks take a lot of time, but the hitchhiker can do the traps. So the traps take a little bit of work to disarm, or they have to set them off, and then you'll know that they set them off. Sissy and Johnny, they're tough. For me, I really do like Sissy because she's, again, able to move along with everybody. So that's why I like Hitchhiker generally and Sissy. They can follow them. You can kind of cut them off because you can go through areas that they can also go through, right? I find them extremely good. And sometimes I'll kind of like double team. So if I see somebody going after a victim as the cook or even as Leatherface, sometimes I'll double on with them and I'll follow and I'll say, okay, well, I'm going to go left when they're going straight. Eventually, we're going to cut the victim off. So many times, that's how we've gotten victims, is 2 killers on one, and you just try to cut them off. And generally, the best way of doing that is to have a hitchhiker or sissy because they're able to do it. The cook and Johnny, they're really tough. Again, the cook is more about just kind of locking things down. And of course, you can kill. I've gotten kills with him before, and you can use him to kind of cut them off as well. But you're not going to like outright chase anybody down with the cook. And Johnny, so far, I've just sucked at. I don't have many tips and tricks for him. I don't understand kind of his like philosophy. For me, the way I've seen him be used successfully is obviously using the footprint thing as much as humanly possible, but like you can only do that when the victims are, so you can't do it in the beginning at all, right? Whereas the cook can lock things down, hitchhiker can place traps, and even sissy can poison like the health potions around the area. Those are all very valuable things. Johnny can literally do nothing until the victims start moving, because then he would look at the footprints. So I don't really understand that. I'm not good at that. And also, he's so slow that even when you find a footprint of them and you can track them down, you need another person. You need a second family member to cut them off. You need to communicate, okay, the footprints go left, you go there, because he's not going to be able to get them. So I'll be honest, I don't see a use for him. I know some people are good as him, but how I said earlier, slow person and fast person, I would personally choose either the cook and then one of the two, hitchhiker or sissy, or just both hitchhiker and sissy. I think that works. You don't have the padlocks in that situation, but you just always need to be checking those exits. Check the water valve, like the actual turn dial. Check the generator. Check the car battery. As long as you're securing those exits and the fuse, right? But again, very few people go for the fuse. As long as you're checking them from time to time, you're good. In my experience, the biggest problems always came from not turning on the car battery at the start. So literally one of the doors would just be open. You just have to unlock the door and walk out as the victim. So that's an easy kind of fix. And then I guess just not checking them often enough, because they can turn the generator off and maybe you don't notice, and they can just, again, walk right out. So you don't want to camp them, because, again, if you're being aggressive and you're attacking the victims and you're really trying to seek them out, they don't have time to go to the generator, right? If you're always chasing them, they won't be able to do it. But if you leave it alone for like 5, 6, 7 minutes, well, eventually somebody's going to get there and somebody's going to turn the thing off. So you do want to have a patrol happening where you're checking back and forth, but you don't want to be camping it. So those are general. Those are not getting too specific. I'm going to do the same thing for victims in the next video, but let me know what you guys think. I can maybe do an entire guide for like each character if you want. Whatever you guys want to see, I'm more than willing to do. Let me know what you think. Make sure you're subscribed, bell icon turned on, and I hope to see you all on the next one.